Hello everyone and welcome to another Chess Lifestyle stream. I realize actually I need to change. Well, I've literally not edited this panel at all. But yeah, welcome. And I believe probably today is going to be quite a quiet stream in terms of chat, just because I think am I on 2312? Let me have a quick look. Yeah, because I believe that a lot of my viewers are school kids in the UK. So I think like this is probably school time for them, and they're probably not going to be able to watch. Um, but yeah, basically I've got a very busy day today. I've got some plans at 1 actually, so I'm gonna have to leave pretty much on the dot. But yeah, we are up to 2,314 subs, so we are definitely firmly within the 39 minutes mark, right? Because 38.5 rounds up, and yeah, let's begin our training. So I thought today, just because I've eaten lunch, we'll start off with a blind tactic just to warm up, and then we'll do maybe some chess neurons, maybe some Lichess, either pass pawn puzzles or maybe like puzzle streak. So we'll see. But for now, let's try this. Okay, so we're just gonna go hardcore and just go like 20 half moves deep, so 10 moves deep, just to wake up and get visualizing. So okay, without evaluating the starting position, we've got knight b4, g5, knight takes c2, rook f5, knight b4, king e2, rook h8, rook h1, rook e7 check, king d2, rook h5. We've done this one before. Rook f8. I think this looks very familiar. King c7, rook g8, b6, g6, rook f5, rook h2, rook f3, g7. And yeah, I seem to remember this was like some checkmate. I think in the end, yeah, the king is on d2, the knight is back out to b4, and the point is the rook can just take here. The king is forced to c1, and the rook like gave a checkmate. Okay, let's do another one because I remember doing this one before. Okay, right. So again, without evaluating, we've got knight f3, queen c7, rook cd1, queen c5 check, king g2. Queen e3, rook f e1, queen f4, rook takes d6, bishop h4, rook d7 check, king h6, queen g4, queen takes g4, h takes g4, bishop takes e1. I guess that's my f rook? Yeah. Knight takes e1, a5, knight f3, and rook f4. And it's white to play and win. So I believe we've got a white king on g2, a white knight on f3, a black rook on f4, a white rook that took on d6. Are we not an exchange down? I think we have a rook on d6, a knight on f3, and black's got a rook on f4 and a rook on c8. Aren't we an exchange down there? Alright, let me go through that one more time. So knight f3, queen c7, rook cd1, queen c5 check, king g3, queen e3, rook f e1, queen f4, rook d6, bishop h4, rook d7 check. King h6, I forgot about this part. Rook d7 check, king h6, queen g4 check. How is queen g4 a check? Oh no, queen g4 isn't a check, right, but queen takes g4 is. Okay, right. So black checks white's king, h takes g4, bishop takes e1, knight takes e1, a5, knight f3, rook f4. So yeah, this case is slightly different because I think we are an exchange down, but the black king is extremely weak. Like, to me, I would probably just play knight takes e5. With pressure on this g6 pawn. I think the king is here, and is the pawn not on h5? Or no, black went a5 earlier. Huh. Like, in my head, I'm literally thinking the black king is here, the white knight is here, the white king is here, the black rook is here, the white rook is on d7. Right. And the pawn is here. Oh, and that makes a big difference, because with the pawn on g4, that means we can check the king. The king is forced to go to h5. And then we can go from d7, rook takes h7 check, king g4, and I believe rook h4 should be checkmate. So the king defends the knight, and I think this is over. So I think g5, rook takes, and mate. Nice. Okay, we got it. Okay, so that's our warm-up. I hope you guys had a good shot at that at home. Let's now do a couple of chess neurons. So for anyone who's new to the stream, chess neurons, unlike most other tactics websites or puzzles, these are basically positional puzzles, so a lot more strategical. But the nice thing is, some of them still require some calculation. So it's like more realistic in terms of solving the position, because you don't know if it's going to be like more concrete, like something a bit more tactical, or is it going to be something more strategical. So these are really nice. So I'm gonna make a proper video about chess neurons at some point. But let's give these a go. So let's do like maybe one easy, one hard, and then we'll move on. So as always, let's evaluate. So 3, 4, 5, 5. Okay, so we've got bishop versus knight. King safety wise, probably about the same. Pawn structure wise, I think white's got the edge because we can create a passed pawn here at some point. Okay, and anything concrete about the position we need to make note of? Probably not too much. So candidate moves. Okay, c5 is 1, bishop takes, e6 is 1. c5 is 1, bishop takes, e6 is 1. For now, I think that's all that really makes sense. I mean, I would want to play this position. One thing to note, there is something critical about this position. We're almost losing this pawn. So c5 and bishop e6 do help to stop that. I mean, rook d1 feels extremely passive. Like, the rook feels really good on this c file, given that we might be able to play c5. So I guess let's look at c5 first. In this position, the queen can move or they can take. If the queen moves, let's say to b8, I think we can even just push, and I think that looks really good to me. But then they could always set up a blockade. Maybe we should take first and then push. Is this worth doing? But maybe the pawn feels a bit weak, like we can't just play d5 next. So this is actually quite annoying. I mean, if they were to take, I think I'd feel pretty good about this. My chance of getting this pawn down. But I guess this knight still has... Well, yeah, in that position, when we take and they move, we could definitely take now. And whichever way we take, they take back. I feel like this pass pawn has to be a strength. Like, even though this black king can potentially come up and round it up, like, white's king can already get active by that point, and it feels like it has to be a strength. So if queen b8, don't have an immediate move to deal with this. Yeah, I'm not too sure. So my other move was to just take the knight, pawn takes back. Again, I'd be looking at this c5 move, but again, black could always just drop back and Don't know what we're... To be fair though, if the queen ever goes back to b8 in that situation, we do have queen c4 hitting the rook and this pawn. Although black could take and then protect the pawn, but then we take back over the pawn, I'm quite happy. Wonder if it makes a difference. Do we take first? Probably we should just push then, right? And then if we get this position, we can always choose to take and enter this line where we play queen c4. So maybe after we push, what if they go like queen here or something? Well, then we've got bishop c4. I feel like c5 has to be right. It feels like, you know, we deal with this threat and we're like continuing to make progress. So this feels right. Oh, and they just took. I feel like they could have done better. Now, I guess we need to consider the difference between these two moves. I feel like this has to be good. I can't imagine this not being good. Like, it feels really flexible and we hit the queen. Yeah. So, actually in this position, what were we not understanding? So this is +1. If they went... Oh, this is +4. Is it going to be my line? Ah, c6 first and only then queen c4. Because if queen c4 now... Ah, queen c8 as a means of defense. So in this position, if we were to play c6, and let's say they played queen c8, we now play d5, ed5. Okay, and I guess the point is, yeah, this pawn is like really controlling of black, and if black tries to like bring this king round to win it, this takes quite a few moves, and in the meantime white has like what? Done what? f4, I guess, with the idea that oh no, black's playing f4. So if they were to play like this, queen c6, aha, like going after this. Ah, so the king doesn't even get close, I see. If white were to just improve the king, just like mindlessly. Okay, yeah, right. So the king can't even come in because there's all kinds of checkmates. But let's say this were to happen. This would then be better for black, right? Oh, that's really good that we're solving this one then. So, yeah, I guess I didn't have the intuition that black wouldn't just be able to go over and gobble because the point is we've got a queen. So the king will just be too exposed and black is just going to get mated on these open files. So that's really good to see. The pawn completely limits these pieces and black can't even solve it just because of the fact that they will weaken the king too much. Very interesting. Yeah, so, I mean, even if like these chess neuron puzzles are on the easy side for the easy stuff. Okay, actually it's not, yeah, that's the point. It's not so easy and we can still learn things, so... Yeah, glad we did that puzzle to improve my intuition there. Yeah, let's do another easy one actually. That was quite nice. The fact that chat is so quiet, I think it confirms my theory that all of my viewers are school kids from the UK. Okay, is white to play? So I'm not looking at any moves right now, I'm just trying to evaluate. I think this is also a skill to like practice thinking when your body doesn't want to think, right? Because I've just eaten lunch, all the blood is going to my stomach, and here we are trying to actually solve chess. So I think this is, I mean, like when I used to train with my friend Ravi, who's now a GM, he said, I mean, we would often train in like cafeterias where it was really noisy, and he said basically like this is actually good training. Like if you can focus and calculate when there's all this noise and distraction around you, then in a silent hall for playing chess, then it's gonna be very fine. Yeah, so before I start discussing the position, I really want to come to a conclusion of a move, force myself to make that call. So I think when I explain everything out loud, it kind of makes it easier to do. You just follow the process and you're forced to follow it, right? Because you're actually speaking the words. But when you don't speak it and you just think it, sometimes you can get a bit lazy. So I really want to make sure I'm getting to the very end. So having done the evaluation, like one move jumps out at me immediately as like, why would you not play this move? But I'm going to try my best to think of some candidate moves anyway, in case there's something even stronger. Nah, I literally see only one move. So I think I'm happy enough to play it. So yeah, the evaluation of the position is quite simple actually. I think maybe king safety wise, white is actually a bit weaker given how the bishop is just shining on this g2 square, but the king safety is actually not so relevant here. Pawn structure is equal, and material wise, we have two bishops against knight and bishop, which it should be in our favor because the position is quite open. So in this position, there's something like dynamic taking place, like potentially this knight will be lost. And therefore we should probably do something about it. Now, of course, we could consider like all these intermediate moves, but I don't really see what advantage they would bring just after a very brief look. And to me, knight d6 just looks like a great move because, I mean, you can get rid of this very strong bishop and you have the bishop pair in an open position. You solve the problem of your knight. Like when you see such a nice move that solves all of your problems, like there's really no need to look further unless there's like a checkmate in one that you're missing. But yeah, this looks great. And then my instinct would just be to take care. Like, yeah, exactly. So okay, some of these puzzles are easier than others, I guess. Helps white exchanging their knight for the black's bishop. The exchange helps white in eliminating another bishop of black. Now black's left with two knights versus two bishops of white, and the position is open, exactly, which favors white. So, okay, that's very good to see. And we can have a quick look at how play might continue. So it takes and just rook d1. White's better due to the double bishop advantage and pressure on the queen side, right? And also in terms of like pieces and tag teams, queen and knight can be very strong if they can coordinate. So just trading queens makes that simple. And bishop takes c5, not the best move. Like winning a pawn, okay, but yeah, this is not so great. Also, someone's ringing the bell. So apologies, guys. Let me just go and deal with that. One sec. Right, sorry about that. Oh, interesting. Wait, I'm so confused. I see people have made like chats, but when I look, I don't see any. Ah, okay. Wow, sorry guys, I completely missed all of your messages, unless they came very recently. I don't know why. But welcome Kyle, welcome Dave, and welcome Andre. Apologies, and oh my god, sorry that I've been blocking the screen, blocking the board. This is probably not a great viewing experience for you guys. But yeah, I think I can see your chats now, and let's continue. So, okay, this is chess neurons. Let's do one final one, and then we'll maybe do some lead chess. So okay, hopefully you should see the screen, and it should all be fine. Right, so yeah, just in case anyone is doing these chess neurons with me for the first time, basically these are positional chess tactics, which are very nice because you don't really know if the answer is going to be more tactical or more strategical, right? It just really depends on the position. So yeah, these are kind of more realistic to a real game. So you get 5 easy ones, 5 hard ones a day, and I think this is a very good balance just to try and do each day. So let's evaluate the position, and then let's try and find the move. Very interesting position. So let me evaluate it, and then I'll discuss with you my candidate moves. So yeah, in this position, material-wise, material is equal to my understanding. But we have a very different pawn structure, which we'll come onto soon. Regarding the material, though, one thing to note is that we do have opposite-colored bishops. So for anyone who doesn't know, opposite-colored bishops in endgames, when it's only the bishops left, this can have high drawing tendencies, although practically speaking, it can completely go wrong, and very often it could be winning or losing. But in, like, theoretically speaking, there are definitely higher drawing chances, but actually in the middle game, with all these pieces on the board, it actually creates a more polarized position where whichever side is attacking will probably win, because you'll be able to dominate one color square, and this will increase your chances of attack. So that's the first thing about these bishops. And then pawn structure wise, it's interesting because it looks like black's got the by far healthier pawn structure, but when you look a bit more closely, you realize that actually this b7 pawn is on an open file and very weak. And even though these pawns are double and isolated, they may not be so weak. I mean, this pawn, it's difficult for black to attack it, and white can potentially play c4 one day to undouble this pawn. And it could even be black's pawn structure that's slightly weaker, surprisingly. So I think that's very interesting. Yeah, given that, we should try and have a go with this position. And for me, whenever I have like really serious weaknesses like b7, unless there's an immediate way I can like attack the king, which I don't see, I'd want to be solving this weakness. So actually, this would be the goal of my calculation, like my candidate moves. And like ideally, I'd love to play bishop f5, bishop d3, and bishop a6. This would be a beautiful way that the bishop can stay strong and defend, but this is like next to impossible. So the move that was really jumping out at me were like these ideas to play either like b5 or b6. And it looks super odd because like why would we trade this pawn for like a pawn that's doubled? But my feeling is that maybe I can even weaken this bishop if it were to dislodge. Like let's say I played b5 and they took en passant, I took back with the a pawn. Maybe this bishop is quite vulnerable to some kind of knight jump somewhere. And I feel like maybe once the pawn is not on b7, maybe it is less vulnerable. Not too sure though. Like also b5, they don't have to take en passant. They could always play a4. And this could be annoying. And we probably don't even have a6 because they can take him and take our rook. So this is a common kind of theme to watch out for. So I'm not sure how easy it is to actually get rid of this weakness if like a move like b6 or something is actually helping. I mean, we put more pressure on c5 this way, so maybe this b6 is a better move than b5 because it immediately asks questions to white's c5 pawn. Candidate moves for white here, apart from taking, maybe knight d4 could be annoying as well because c6 is weakened after you push b6. But then you could take with a knight. And if bishop takes pawn takes, the queen then reveals defense onto the c6 pawn. So b6 is definitely looking pretty interesting. Because how else does white deal with this? I mean, if they take, then we take back. I feel like that has to be an improvement. We're also threatening bishop a6. So that's even going to come with tempo. So they can't even play an immediate rook b1. If they can't do that, yeah, this looks fantastic. I think b6 looks like a great move to me. What about b6 knight e5, trying to go for c6 again? I guess again we can play knight takes c5 with tempo on the queen, hitting the bishop, and if bishop takes, pawn takes, and again the queen defends c6. So I think this looks really good. Yeah, I think b6 would be my move. Let's see what you guys are saying. Welcome Josh to the stream. Undermining the bishop's support feels essential. So you found b6 for different reasons. Like, I mean, this was like a secondary reason for me, but yeah. And welcome Yevgeny. I'm getting the Chestnut Evo tomorrow. What is Chestnut Evo? Wait, I need to look this up. I'm so curious. Chestnut Evo. Oh wow, what is that? Oh what? Okay. This link is suspicious. I ain't touching that. I'd be careful, Dave. Like, make sure that this is definitely like a legit website before you give money to it. But yeah, interesting. I feel like to me with these like these AI kind of chessboards that kind of move by themselves, they're pretty cool, but I don't know, I wouldn't be able to get into it, I think like, I don't know, with the money you could spend on that board, I would rather spend it on either study resources or maybe just like book a ticket to play in some open tournament, right? And get some like in-person action. That might be my shout. Welcome Lucas. Thank you for the congrats on the 39 minutes. Appreciate it. Onwards and upwards. There was actually a guy who joined the stream called Lucas yesterday, so it's gonna get very confusing if he keeps joining. But yeah, we think b6. And then take yeah, this is nice. So white's bishop is quite well placed on the outpost d6, and white's pawn on c5 is also giving some space advantage on the queen side. Interesting. So the logic behind b6 is more Josh's idea than mine, but I really see this big weakness on b7. I don't like my pieces being tied down, so this is why I really wanted to make it work. And it's kind of a shame that there's no analysis of these two moves, because I think this is kind of critical. Of course it doesn't work. And c4, bishop a6, yeah, exactly. Yeah, this looks good. And again, someone is ringing my doorbell, so I'm gonna have to go. Arjun, did you have a tournament this weekend, or did you have a tournament later? Again, be right back. Right, guys, I have to rant about this. Like, actual idiot. So there's a guy like he comes to my door, and he rang the doorbell earlier. When I answered it, no one was there. And then it rings again, so I'm like, must be the same guy. And turns out the guy is looking for like a massage parlor, and he's ringing like my building, like asking if this is it. Like, obviously not. Like, whatever. Just people who can't work stuff out on their own. Just they need to do more chess puzzles, right? Like, so that they can solve problems themselves. Anyway, so what are people saying? Knight g5. I have knight takes g5, queen takes g5 with attacking ideas. Interesting. Yeah, so Yevgeny, I wouldn't be looking in this direction until I solve these weaknesses. Because even if I play like some move like bishop h3, I can always block. And I just feel like, yeah, the pressure on b7 will just be really uncomfortable. So I'd want to solve this first and then later attack. Coventry open 5 days. I see. Okay, you're on the waiting list? That's a shame, but hopefully you can get in. Is it possible to shop on the day? Maybe you can try it, but I wouldn't risk it. Unless you like live next door and you have nothing to lose, then I wouldn't try it, to be honest. You question, how much money would it take to bribe someone on their spot? Damn, I wish I entered now. Like, you could bribe me. I'm happy not to play some grueling 5 rounds of chess in 2 days. No, unfortunately, I haven't entered the Coventry. But yeah, probably not a lot. I mean, I think you can. I think chess players will sell their soul for under a $5. So you could probably find someone. But yeah, let's actually do some puzzle streak. Even though I'm still digesting, I feel like I can probably do one. Right, so we're on 59. This is for the big 6-6-0. Black to play. Let's evaluate and let's try and make sure we get this. What a position, though. What a position. Wow. Okay, so basically we are down 4 pawns and a rook. And basically that means that it's all or nothing now. We have to basically go for checkmate or win all the material back and more, which is quite unrealistic, but maybe we could. So we need some candidate moves that will help us achieve our goal. So I think knight d3 check, knight f3 check, rook takes c1 check, rook takes e2 check. Maybe even queen b4 check, but that looks kind of wrong. So that helps white develop. So I think all of these checks should be looked at first, and then if none of these work, then we can branch our candidate moves out. Again, I'm not going to be looking at chat during this calculation. Okay, I just looked over to make sure that I'm not blocking the screen. But yeah, this is black to play. Find the winning move. So of all these moves, which one looks most promising to me? I want to play the move that is most forcing. I think this would be quite nice. So maybe knight d3 check is quite forcing, because if the king were to just move, then we do win the queen. Now the thing is, okay, if we played knight d3 and they went king d1 and we took the queen and they took our rook, we can very quickly see that in this position, we can always play knight takes f2 and win this rook. So I think this is compensation. So knight d3 pretty much forces queen takes d3. So that makes our life easier. And then now the knight on e2 is pinned, and we could play rook takes c1 check. Interesting. And on king d2, we could take the rook on h1. So what are we getting there? We're just getting back a rook, but we're still 4 pawns down. Now we should make sure that we've noted that we've got this bishop. Bishop h6 could be a big theme in some of these positions. So knight here and rook takes. In that position, if king d2, We potentially have bishop h6 as well. Could be a strong move. Although they can play f4. This again is like my worst nightmare. Like getting to this position, I would be able to do. I would be able to get to this position, feel like I'm winning, and then not be able to find a move. As I said as well, I've got some plans at once, so I've also got the time pressure. I need to solve this. Okay, so knight d3 I think is unclear. We might have something there, but maybe not. Let's have a brief look at the rest. So knight f3 check, I feel like I'm already dismissing just because white could play g takes f3. And it feels like we've just lost a piece and we can't really afford to lose another piece. So then we've got rook takes e2 check. And here again, white has some options. If they move the king, we just take the queen on e4. And we should have compensation. So rook takes e2. They basically have to take the rook. If they take with the king, don't really see a follow-up, to be honest. Like, there's no knight f4, no knight c3. Rook takes e2, king takes e2. It just looks like white is fine. So then we have rook takes c1. Knight can take or king can move. If knight were to take, then we have this very nice move, knight d3 check, with a discovered attack. And as we know, yeah, in that position, well actually, yeah, they can take our knight, but we'll take the queen. And I feel like that's not enough compensation. So rook takes c1, knight takes knight d3 looks to be very strong. So if rook takes c1 and king d2. But king d2, I'm trying to find a way to give like a knight check and win the queen. Because if rook takes c1, king d2, knight c4 check, king d3. It's a bit tricky. Rook takes c1, king d2. Maybe bishop h6 check, f4. Maybe now knight c4 check, king d3. Oh yeah, this is my worst nightmare to try and calculate. So I think both rook takes c1 and knight d3 check in the starting position, they both look quite promising. I think it's between these two. So let's see if we can rule one out. Let me just make sure I've absolutely got the material situation correct. So we have rook and 4 pawns down. Also our knight is hanging temporarily on e5. So if we go knight d3 check, white has to take the knight. Do we have any other moves except rook c1? Like, it'd be cold if we could like play like some move at like forced mate, like a brink mate. So for anyone who doesn't know what brink mate is, it's a shogi term which means forced mate and like forced mate. Like, but it's like a move that's not a check. That's brink mate. So yeah, knight d3, queen d3, rook takes c1, king d2. Don't really know. Don't really see it. Don't really see it. Well, guys, we're running out of time. I have no idea if you guys have got it. I reckon this is the kind of puzzle that Yevgeny will get well. So actually, Yevgeny, like while I'm trying to work this out. What openings do you play? Because I really want to see if like your openings reflect your playing style. My gut tells me Evgeny has got this one. Oh god. Rook takes c1. And I think I'm already forgetting my lines. This is so bad. Rook takes c1. Yeah, I think we were saying king d2 was forced. Knight c4 check, king d3. Rook takes c1, king d2, knight c4 check, king d3. We must have something here, surely. I guess we could play knight b4 check. And if king takes c4... Ah, the king can't take on c4, the rook defends it. Oh, that makes all the difference. Oh, well, then that's just really strong, right? Knight c4, and then knight b4, and the rook still protects c4. I forgot about this. And even if they could take, then we pick up the queen. So I think this looks really good. So is there anything else to worry about then? If they took with the knight, then I think we could get away with knight d3. Like, I realize they can take, and we can give check, and they can come here. But it feels like we just should have enough. We've got a queen, knight, and a bishop in this attack. I feel like that should be enough to be winning. I think we're just going to go for it. I'm gonna be really salty if this is wrong. I think rook c1 is the move though. I think rook c1 is just super clean. Rook c1 has literally no other moves except take or king d2. And I think we debunked both. I mean, if king d2 we go knight c4 check and they come here and we take... That's compensation. That's compensation. Okay, so they took with the knight, and then I'm pretty sure knight d3 is the move. Has to be knight d3. There's no other moves that make any sense here. Okay, and they've gone king d2. Now, I did see this move because I was a bit worried about these kind of threats, but the point is the knight is still protecting. So I feel like we can just go ahead and take. Now, I guess one move to consider would be bishop h6, but then they take and defend their queen. So this feels wrong. So I feel like we can just take this. Surely, right? I'm not tripping. Here. Ah, oh, thank God. Thank God. Absolutely terrifying. Okay. Rook takes c1, king d2, knight c4, knight b4. Oh, knight b4 was mate? Are you serious? I didn't even see it was a mate. I did not even see this was a mate. Oh, wow. This is checkmate. I just thought that, okay, he can't take the knight. And even if he could, we can take the queen. Yeah, wow. Okay. I'm very glad to see that this was correct. We have hit the 6-0. We'll keep up the streak later. Unfortunately, guys, I'm going to have to bounce just to see what is... Brinkmate was a shogi term? I see. Wait, Kyogre, you also didn't know that Brinkmate was even a shogi term? That's insane. Yeah. There's like even books written about just Brinkmate exercises. Because it's such a big thing in shogi. You must have heard of Brinkmate. You must have heard of it. It's like there are all these different kind of motifs surrounding Brinkmate. And then Semi-Slav and Sicilian for black, Catalan for white. Interesting. I guess like look up Dubov's Catalan. Like you'll probably like see some interesting ways to play it, which will suit your style. And yeah, Semi-Slav. I wonder if these like defensive tactics are for you, but maybe they could be. Fair enough. Fair enough. I can get behind it. I'd probably think there's like a better opening than Semi-Slav suited to you. That's just my personal opinion. Maybe like Grunfeld or something like this. I'm not too sure. Anyway, guys, sorry FAC for missing your comment, but I'm very glad to see that you're joining me streams, and unfortunately for today, I'm gonna have to be going. So thanks so much for tuning in, and I guess see you guys all tomorrow.